You might begin to notice the world is full of ideas, concepts and beliefs that shape how we experience reality. And yet, as you explore the nuances of your own thoughts and experiences, you might also become aware of how some ideas seem so clear, so connected, that it's hard to see where one thought ends and another begins. Just like when you hear someone say, time equals money, you might find yourself feeling that sense of truth in your mind, not quite clear where the time goes, but knowing somehow it's the same as money. And in the same way, something as simple as being late can have an entire universe of meaning wrapped around it, can't it? It's not just that you were late. It could be that being late means you're not caring, not being organised, or not being fully present. It's fascinating how something so simple can carry such powerful meaning, isn't it? Because as you begin to understand, you might realise how beliefs, they're often built on these very connections, where one thing equals something else. You could think of it as a bridge between things that at first glance might seem so different. But as you build that bridge, you start to see the world in an entirely different way. One where time, love, care and meaning just seem to connect in ways they may not even be immediately obvious. And as those connections become clearer, your mind starts to fill in the gaps, doesn't it? It's almost as though you're receiving an invitation, a gentle nudge from your unconscious mind to begin to understand how these connections work. And perhaps you've already noticed how you might have interpreted things in your own life through this lens of equivalence. When something happens, you make sense of it, and just like that, it becomes something else entirely. Something more, something deeper. You start to believe it, and then that belief shapes how you see the world. Perhaps it's like a pattern that runs through everything you say and do, isn't it? A pattern, it often feels vivid, real, and yet somehow more and more abstract too. And when you begin to think in these patterns, it's almost as if you start to notice the world bending around them, fitting into the framework of your mind. And then, without realising it, they begin to shape your beliefs just like that. Now imagine for a moment, you could see how these connections, these equivalences, flow through every action, every thought and every experience. Imagine how those connections could become so real, so powerful, that they begin to influence what you believe to be true, even before you consciously analyse it. It's almost like being led gently through a maze, one where you don't have to consciously figure it out. You just know. You just sense what it all means, without the need for heavy thinking. And isn't it interesting how, when you're talking to others, you might start to notice how their beliefs, they're tied together in the same way. How in subtle ways, they may have linked one thing to another, just like you did, all without even thinking about it. And as you listen to them, there's that soft, compelling pull, that desire to simply accept, just accept what's said, what is felt, without needing to analyse, without needing to break it down. You can just know it's true, and as you know it's true, it becomes true. It becomes a part of your world, woven into the very fabric of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your experience. It's fascinating to think how something that feels so specific can be so vague, isn't it? The words seem simple, almost too simple, but the meaning that swells up around them, it expands. It fills your mind with vivid imagery, layers of meaning, just like that, until the image seems undeniable. You don't even need to question it anymore. It already becomes a belief, woven into the very core of your thinking. And perhaps somewhere deep inside, you've begun to see that the more you use these language patterns, the more your mind becomes flexible to how things connect, how one thing equals another, how the meaning of an event can become the meaning of your entire life, shaping how you feel, what you believe, and how you respond. You may notice even now how easily these connections are being formed in your mind, and how your unconscious mind is starting to link together your own experiences with a newfound sense of clarity, seeing how time equals money, how actions speak louder than words, and how one thing is another. And as this happens, there's a subtle shift, a shift in the way you think about everything around you, where the world itself might even feel like it's conforming to these ideas that you've embraced, these thoughts, these connections. They grow stronger over time, becoming more ingrained, more automatic. The more you experience this, the more natural it feels. And it can be such an easy process. You might not even notice how you're changing, because this understanding, this pattern, it becomes second nature, and in time it shapes the very essence of your beliefs. Now, as you listen to these words, there may be a part of you that understands, perhaps even knows deep down. These subtle, complex equivalences, they're shaping your thoughts and beliefs, like invisible threads tying everything together in a perfectly natural, unspoken way. And all the while, you might notice how these ideas, these beliefs, they're becoming clearer, more powerful, and deeply ingrained into your sense of who you are, who you're becoming. And isn't it interesting how once something becomes this deeply embedded, this real, it's almost impossible to challenge it, because on a deeper level, it simply is. It exists. It makes sense. It feels true. And once it feels true, it'll continue to guide your beliefs, your actions, and your understanding of the world, shaping your perceptions with such grace and ease that everything falls into place just like that. So now, as you continue to deepen into this understanding, just notice how your mind naturally begins to create these connections, how you begin to see the subtle truth in everything, knowing that everything you experience means something more. It just does. And with each passing moment, your understanding of the world and yourself expands effortlessly, like a seed sprouting in your mind, blossoming with new insights and connections. And as you become more and more aware of how powerful this process is, you might notice how easy it is to shape not just your beliefs, but also the beliefs of others, simply by speaking in these subtle hypnotic ways. The way you craft your words, your patterns, your meanings. And soon everything you've learned here will become second nature, guiding your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions effortlessly, smoothly, naturally.